ever looked at something broken or thrown away, and imagined it as a treasure in your garden? Welcome to Nest Nature, where every video opens the door to simple but powerful transformations. Today we dive into DIY trash garden ideas, creative ways to turn discarded items into beauty for your front yard, backyard, or tiny garden. This video is structured with timestamps, so feel free to jump to the part that inspires you most. And if you have questions, leave a comment. I'm here to connect. If you find even one idea you love, try it, adapt it, and let your own creativity bring it to life. Maybe to you, I'm just another voice in the noise of the internet. But behind this content is a journey, a dream, and a small family that believes in it. This is not just a video, it's a piece of our heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe keeps that dream alive. One click isn't just support, it's hope. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to see us. In the gentle embrace of a cottage-style backyard, where colors breathe life into every corner, the humble car tire begins a new journey. No longer forgotten or discarded, it rises again as a pastel flower throne, a seat of joy, a sculpture of beauty, and a resting place for blooms. Each tire, once marked by roads and dust, is now painted in soft tones of lavender, mint, blush, and sky blue. The pastel hues catch the sunlight like whispers of spring, even in the cooler days of autumn. Imagine walking through your garden on a crisp morning. The air carries a slight chill, but the sight of these painted thrones warms the heart. Around them, chrysanthemums open wide in golden yellows and deep purples, asters stretch upward with delicate star-shaped petals, while marigolds glow in bright orange, inviting bees to dance among them. Sedum autumn joy cascades gracefully from the edges of the tires, their fleshy leaves kissed by dew, adding a quiet texture to the vibrant display. The thrones are not only playful but purposeful. They create small sanctuaries in the garden, corners where one can sit, rest, or simply admire the symphony of color. Children see them as magical seats of fairies, while adults find nostalgia in their rustic charm. A single pergola draped in green vines frames one tire throne, making it look like a secret chair in a woodland storybook. Painted wood edging ties the space together, grounding the bright accents with earthy calm. There is poetry in their transformation. Tires, often symbols of wear and waste, are reborn into cheerful creations that invite both people and pollinators. Each brushstroke of pastel not only conceals the old but also celebrates renewal. The garden itself seems to smile brighter, as if the flowers and the furniture were in conversation, one blooming, the other embracing. In this space, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The pastel tire flower throne is more than a recycled project. It is an artistic statement, a declaration that beauty can emerge from what we leave behind. And as you step back, watching chrysanthemums sway gently in the breeze beside the painted thrones, the garden feels complete, whimsical, welcoming, and utterly alive. Along the winding paths of a small cottage garden, color does not stop with flowers. It runs deeper, framing the very spaces where blossoms grow. Here, in the rainbow motorcycle tire edging, the edges of the earth are crowned with joy. What was once rubber, worn and discarded by the roads, is reborn into arcs of vivid brilliance. Each half tire is painted in radiant hues, red for passion, orange for warmth, yellow for cheer, green for renewal, blue for calm, violet for dreams. Together they weave a border that feels alive, as if a rainbow had fallen to the ground and decided to stay. The arcs bend gracefully into the soil, half buried to create a perfect balance between playful design and sturdy structure. Around these borders, the flowers seem to respond. Asters lift their starry heads in lilac and blue, chrysanthemums unfold golden suns and deep crimson blooms, while marigolds beam like fire scattered across the beds. Sedum autumn joy blushes in rosy tones, and Japanese anemones sway softly in the breeze. Pollinators gather in delight, bees buzzing, butterflies flickering, a living orchestra that makes the rainbow edging even more alive. This edging does more than separate soil from path. It frames the garden like a painted canvas. The rustic stone path beside it feels brighter, more inviting, as though every step leads into a painting. For children, the rainbow tires are gates into a storybook world where fairies and colors dance. For grown hearts, they are reminders of how beauty can bloom even from remnants of the past. The clear paint conceals every scar of the old rubber, leaving no trace of its journey on the road. Instead, it shines as if new, a celebration of second chances. Placed in small yards or front gardens, the rainbow arcs create a vibrant rhythm, leading eyes along curves and lines, guiding footsteps gently. And in the quiet of dusk, when the last light brushes across the garden, the rainbow edging still glows softly, holding its colors like a promise that in even the tiniest corners, joy can be planted, nurtured, and shared. The rainbow motorcycle tire edging is not just a border, it is an embrace of color, a playful crown for the earth itself. In the gentle charm of a cottage garden, where time slows and every detail feels touched by care, the teacup blossom tower rises like a whimsical sculpture of color. Stacked high from old cups once forgotten in cupboards, each teacup now tells a new story, one of renewal and delight. Their porcelain surfaces, once chipped or stained, are repainted in pastel hues, powder blue, blush pink, creamy white, and patterned with delicate vines and blossoms. As you walk along the garden path, your eyes are drawn to this playful tower. From the rim of each cup, flowers cascade, chrysanthemums in golden yellows, asters with their soft purple stars, and marigolds burning bright like tiny suns. Sedum autumn joy drapes gracefully over the edges, its foliage thick and textured, while Japanese anemones stretch above, their pale petals dancing in the breeze. Together, they weave a cascade of colors, textures, and fragrances that feels both familiar and surprising. The towers do not stand alone. They are set thoughtfully in garden corners, near wooden benches or tucked by pergola posts, where they invite admiration and quiet reflection. In small patios, they make vertical beauty possible, turning tight spaces into lush, layered displays. Each stack feels like a miniature fairytale castle, as if fairies might dwell within the blooms that spill over the rims. But beyond the magic lies purpose. These towers celebrate the art of reimagining. What could have been broken pieces or discarded china now become the very highlights of a garden. Each painted cup conceals its age and reveals only joy, proof that creativity can breathe new life into forgotten things. Children marvel at the towers, seeing them as enchanted sculptures, while adults admire the artistry and craftsmanship. Neighbors pause to ask about them, smiles blooming as wide as the flowers themselves. Even the pollinators approve, bees dipping into asters, butterflies resting lightly on chrysanthemums, creating a living dance around the towers. In the fading light of evening, the pastel-painted cups glow softly against the warm backdrop of blooms. The teacup blossom towers stand as symbols of imagination and charm, reminding us that even the smallest vessel, when filled with color and care, can rise to greatness. In a quiet corner of the garden, where imagination takes root as strongly as the flowers themselves, the piggy bank fairy corner comes alive. Once simple toys or forgotten savings jars, these piggy banks have shed their old lives and emerged as whimsical guardians of a magical space. Painted in pastel pinks, sky blues, and hints of shimmering gold, they no longer hold coins but dreams, each one brimming with new life. Placed carefully among blooming chrysanthemums and asters, the piggy banks take on the charm of fairytale sculptures. Some cradle tiny succulents, others spill with marigolds and sedum autumn joy, their vibrant colors weaving around the playful shapes. Nearby, Japanese anemones sway gently, their pale blossoms adding an ethereal softness that feels like a fairy's touch. In daylight, the pastel paints sparkle against the greenery. In twilight, soft garden lanterns cast golden glows over the small sculptures, making the space feel enchanted. This corner is more than decoration. It is a story woven into soil and flower. Children approach with wide eyes, convinced fairies might step out from behind a pig-shaped planter. Adults pause, drawn into the nostalgia of childhood while admiring the artistry of upcycling. It is a reminder that even the most unlikely objects, when given color and care, can transform into symbols of wonder. The piggy banks themselves seem to smile, their painted forms blending seamlessly into the floral symphony. Their rounded bodies and playful shapes contrast with the tall spires of asters and the flowing textures of sedum, creating balance and delight. Each piece feels intentional yet spontaneous, like the joyful whimsy of a watercolor painting. And beyond the aesthetics, there is a quiet message here. Beauty is not about perfection or wealth. It is about vision, creativity, and the courage to see potential where others see only trash. The Piggy Bank Fairy Corner embodies this truth, turning discarded childhood relics into timeless works of art for the garden. As dusk falls and the marigolds fold slightly in the cooling air, the piggy banks remain, silent guardians of a magical corner, where flowers bloom and imagination soar. It is a place to pause, to smile, and to believe once more in everyday enchantment. Beneath the arch of a pergola, where sunlight filters gently through climbing vines, the unexpected takes shape, rustic tire pergola frames. What once were heavy wheels carrying the weight of journeys are now reborn as frames of life and growth, painted in warm creams and soft browns to blend with the natural charm of wood and foliage. The tires are cut and set upright against the pergola posts, their hollow centers transformed into circular frames that cradle bursts of flowers. Marigolds spill in golden fire, asters reach with soft lilac stars, and chrysanthemums bloom in a proud chorus of color. Sedum autumn joy drapes softly from the edges, its textured leaves catching the morning dew, while Japanese anemones nod their delicate heads nearby, adding grace to the sturdy forms. The pergola itself, often a place of rest and reflection, becomes even more enchanting with these accents. Visitors find themselves pausing not only beneath the shade but also beside these rustic frames, admiring the way vines curl through the painted rings. In their simplicity, the tires echo the strength of the pergola's beams, but their transformation tells another story, that beauty can emerge from what was once considered nothing. There is a timeless harmony here. The weathered look of rustic white paint softens the industrial edges of rubber, creating a blend that feels both artistic and natural. Birds perch on the rims, butterflies linger among the blossoms, and bees dart in and out with tireless devotion. The frames are not loud, yet they speak of sustainability, creativity, and the artistry of everyday hands. For small gardens, this design adds vertical interest, lifting blooms higher and weaving them into structures already loved. In larger backyards, it creates conversation pieces, moments where guests ask with curiosity, "Are those really tires?" Their surprise melts into admiration when they see the vibrant life spilling from within. At sunset, when the pergola glows with the last golden light, the rustic tire frames stand proud, shadows softening their curves, flowers still alive with color. They remind us that even what was heavy and worn can find lightness again. In their quiet presence, the rustic tire pergola frames make the pergola not just a shelter, but a gallery of rebirth and bloom. When the evening hush falls over a garden, light becomes more than illumination. It becomes atmosphere, memory, and wonder. Along the quiet stretch of a wooden fence, the Selengan lantern fence transforms what was once discarded into a gallery of glowing charm. The piggy banks, once guardians of coins, are reborn as lanterns of joy. Their ceramic or plastic shells, carefully repainted in pastels and soft metallics, shimmer gently against the fading sky. Tiny star-shaped cutouts scatter the glow outward, while floral patterns let streams of golden light dance across the fence panels. As dusk deepens, the lanterns awaken fully, creating a row of twinkling guardians along the garden's edge. Beneath them, asters and chrysanthemums seem to catch the light, their blooms glowing like jewels in the evening air. Marigolds, already radiant in the day, burn brighter in the lantern's embrace, while sedum autumn joy blushes in warm tones under the gentle shimmer. Japanese anemones stand tall and delicate, their pale blossoms echoing the soft lantern light, as if the flowers themselves have begun to glow. The fence, usually a boundary, now becomes a stage. Instead of separating, it gathers attention, pulling eyes toward the playful shapes of piggy banks turned radiant. Children laugh, seeing little creatures lined up, glowing with hidden magic. Adults smile in quiet admiration, marveling at the ingenuity of such transformation. The Selengan lantern fence does more than decorate, it creates intimacy. In small patios, it makes the space cozy and warm, perfect for evening tea. In wide backyards, it sets the mood for gatherings, the glow reflecting against happy faces. Even from the street, passers-by cannot help but pause, drawn to the whimsical charm of piggy banks shining as lanterns under the night sky. there is poetry in their presence. Once filled with coins of hope and savings, now they shine with light itself, gifting the garden a different kind of wealth, beauty, creativity, and joy. The painted colors hide their age, while the glow reveals their new purpose. As the night settles, and the flowers close slightly under the cool air, the Selengan lantern fence continues to glow, reminding all who see it that imagination is a lantern too, capable of brightening even the simplest of places. In the heart of a garden, far from the shore yet touched by its spirit, the seascape tire planters bring the ocean home. Old tires, once bound to asphalt, are transformed with strokes of aqua blue, turquoise, and sandy beige. Painted waves curl along their rims, and seashells rest at their bases, weaving the language of the sea into the rhythm of the soil. Placed in corners of backyards or near patios, these planters glow with color. Within their circular embrace, flowers rise and spill like coral gardens, chrysanthemums unfurl golden suns, asters sparkle like stars against twilight seas, marigolds beam in fiery tones, while sedum autumn joy cascades like seaweed trailing in a gentle tide. Japanese anemones, with their pale and delicate blossoms, echo the beauty of ocean foam as it dances on sand. The sight is playful and calming all at once. To children, the planters become portals to seaside adventures. To adults, they are memories of salt air and gentle waves, reimagined in the quiet of a garden. The tires, painted fresh and bright, leave no trace of their past life. Their round forms, once symbols of motion and travel, now anchor life in stillness and blue. A rustic fence behind them frames the display, while pebbles scattered at their feet give the illusion of a shoreline. Butterflies linger on asters, bees hum over marigolds, and the air feels alive with gentle harmony. On warm afternoons, the painted blues catch the sunlight, shimmering as though reflecting water. At twilight, they soften, blending with the cool hues of the evening sky. These planters bring more than decoration, they invite imagination. They remind us that beauty is not limited by location. Even without waves lapping nearby, the serenity of the sea can flow into a backyard or tiny patio, carried by paint, flowers, and vision. In a world where waste often drowns beauty, the seascape tire planters turn forgotten rubber into art, connecting land to sea, past to present, and imagination to reality. And in that connection, a garden corner becomes more than a patch of earth, it becomes a piece of the ocean itself, blooming endlessly with color and joy. edges of a garden bed, where soil meets path, color emerges not from petals alone but from fragments of memory. The cup mosaic garden border is a celebration of imperfection turned into art. Old teacups, once cracked, chipped, or broken, are no longer hidden away. Instead, their pieces are gathered, painted, and set into the earth as a border that glitters like a mosaic of sunlight. Each shard carries its own charm, curves of porcelain, tiny floral patterns, pastel glazes of blues, pinks, creams, and soft greens. Pieced together, they form a ribbon of color that winds through the garden. The border feels alive, a stained glass pathway at ground level, echoing the blooms it frames. Above it, flowers rise in harmony. Chrysanthemums unfurl in golden yellows, asters stretch in soft violet stars, marigolds blaze in warm orange flames. Sedum autumn joy cascades in fleshy textures, while Japanese anemones sway gently in the breeze. The colors of the blooms seem to echo those in the mosaic border, as though the flowers and cups were speaking the same language. Walking along the path, one feels a sense of discovery. The border catches the light in unexpected ways. Morning dew glints on porcelain edges, afternoon sun paints soft glows, and twilight casts long shadows that deepen its textures. What was once trash becomes treasure, as meaningful and captivating as any flower in the bed. The mosaic does more than frame, it tells a story. Each piece was once part of a cup that held tea, warmth, or conversation. Now, in their rebirth, they hold the garden itself, supporting the blooms like colorful guardians. Children stoop to trace the shapes with their fingers, enchanted by the sparkle at their feet. Adults pause, admiring the ingenuity of turning brokenness into beauty. For small spaces, the mosaic border adds richness without demanding room. For larger gardens, it becomes a playful rhythm along winding paths. Everywhere it is placed, it whispers the same truth, that even broken things can shine again, more beautiful than before. At dusk, when the flowers begin to close, the border remains silent, colorful, steadfast. The cup mosaic garden border transforms not only the ground it touches but the hearts that see it, reminding all who pass that beauty often blooms in the most unexpected fragments. In the gentle heart of the garden, where a gazebo offers shade and gathering, the air is filled not only with fragrance but with surprise. Hanging gracefully from its beams are the gazebo tire flower chandeliers, a marriage of strength and beauty, of forgotten rubber turned into living art. Once rolling wheels of heavy journeys, the tires now rise into the air, reborn as chandeliers painted in soft blush, creamy whites, and seafoam greens. Suspended with rustic chains, each tire cradles blooms that cascade downward like living jewels. Chrysanthemums spill in golden and crimson waves, asters stretch in violet stars, marigolds tumble in fiery bursts, while sedum autumn joy softens the edges with gentle, trailing greens. Japanese anemones, delicate and pale, sway like dancers under the whisper of a breeze. The gazebo transforms with their presence. It is no longer just a shelter, it becomes a stage where flowers perform. Bees hum, butterflies flit between blossoms, and the hanging gardens glow in afternoon light, enchanting all who step beneath. By evening, lanterns strung nearby mingle with the blooms, creating an ethereal dance of shadow and color. Guests pause here, eyes drawn upward. Children see fairy crowns suspended in the air, while adults admire the artistry of upcycling, a vision where trash has become a centerpiece. The tires hold no trace of their past journeys. Their painted skins gleam fresh, their circles now filled not with wheels but with life. In small backyards, these chandeliers create grandeur without consuming space. In larger gardens, they add vertical richness, weaving flowers into the very architecture of the gazebo. Their cascading forms echo waterfalls, making the air feel alive with movement. There is a quiet message held in their curves, that beauty can hang even from the most unexpected places. Each bloom is framed perfectly by the tire's circle, as if the garden itself were painting portraits in petals. As twilight settles, the gazebo tire flower chandeliers remain luminous, their blossoms glowing softly in the last light. They are more than decor, they are poetry in motion, a reminder that even what once touched only the ground can rise to the sky, carrying flowers, color, and joy into the heart of a garden. In the embrace of a rustic farmhouse garden, where wood beams creak softly and flowers lean toward the sun, a small detail brings life and movement: the farmhouse teacup bird feeders. Once humble vessels for tea and conversation, these vintage cups now hold seeds and grains, inviting feathered guests to dine among the blooms. Hung gracefully from pergola beams or perched atop wooden posts, the cups are painted in soft tones of sage green, cream, and dusty rose. Their porcelain curves, once chipped with age, now gleam anew with rustic charm. Each cup dangles with quiet elegance, swaying gently in the breeze as birds flutter down to sip, peck, and sing. Around them, the garden hums with color. Chrysanthemums burst in golden crowns, asters reach out with violet petals, and marigolds blaze in fiery orange. Sedum autumn joy fills corners with textured green, while Japanese anemones dance lightly in pale pinks and whites. The flowers frame the feeders, creating an atmosphere both practical and poetic. It is not only a gift to the birds but to the garden itself. Their wings stir the air, their songs weave through the rustling leaves, and their presence makes the space feel alive. Children pause to watch, eyes wide with delight, while adults smile quietly, savoring the harmony between man-made craft and nature's rhythm. The feeders are not extravagant, yet their simplicity is profound. Each teacup speaks of thrift and care, of finding use in what others might discard. They carry a farmhouse honesty, humble, warm, and welcoming. To see them among the flowers is to witness the garden's generosity, food for the birds, beauty for the eyes, peace for the soul. As afternoon sunlight filters through pergola vines, shadows play across the painted cups, while tiny wings flutter around them. In the cool of evening, when the air grows still, the feeders remain like gentle lanterns of memory, holding not light but the echoes of birdsong. The farmhouse teacup bird feeders remind us that a garden is more than flowers and fences. It is a place of sharing, where even discarded cups can find new life as hosts to nature's guests. And in their quiet offering, they turn every corner of the backyard into a story of welcome. At the heart of the garden, where stillness meets motion, the sound of water carries a gentle song. Here, in playful forms and painted colors, the Selengan water features turn forgotten piggy banks into vessels of delight. Once keepers of coins and savings, they now spill streams of water like laughter, bringing life and freshness into every corner. Each piggy bank is carefully repainted, powder blue, soft pink, creamy white, its surface glowing with new charm. From their small mouths, water trickles into stone or ceramic basins, creating ripples that shimmer under sunlight. The air is filled with the soft rhythm of flow, a melody that soothes as much as it surprises. Around the fountains, flowers gather as if drawn to the sound. Chrysanthemums bloom in their bold crowns of gold and crimson, asters stretch in lilac stars, and marigolds glow like drops of fire against the greenery. Sedum autumn joy drapes softly along the edges, while Japanese anemones rise gracefully, their delicate petals fluttering with each breeze. Together, they frame the water features with color and life, making each Selengan sculpture appear enchanted. The scene feels whimsical yet serene. Children are charmed, laughing at the sight of painted piggy banks spilling water, while adults find themselves smiling, touched by the cleverness of such transformation. The fountains do not roar, they whisper. They remind visitors that beauty is not only in what is grand, but also in what is playful and unexpected. For small patios or tiny yards, the Selengen fountains add magic without taking space. In larger backyards, they can be grouped into clusters, creating a corner of wonder where water and flowers weave a harmony of sound and sight. The piggy banks themselves, once symbols of saving and waiting, now teach a new lesson, that joy does not need to be stored away. It can flow freely, refreshing and abundant. As twilight falls, the last golden rays of sunlight shimmer on the rippling water. The flowers close slightly, leaning into the cool of evening, but the fountains continue their soft trickle. The Selengen water features stand as playful guardians of peace, offering not coins but the endless wealth of beauty and sound. In the quiet of a Japanese-inspired garden, simplicity speaks louder than abundance. Here, balance is found in stone, gravel, and blue. Yet what appears to be stone is not always what it seems. The Japanese garden tire stones show how even discarded wheels can transform into anchors of serenity. The old tires, once black and worn, are painted in muted grays and earthy tones. Their round shapes soften into the garden as though they had always belonged to the earth. Arranged carefully along a gravel path, they mimic stepping stones, inviting slow footsteps and thoughtful pauses. From afar, they seem carved from rock. Only upon closer look does the secret of their rebirth reveal itself. Around them, flowers rise to provide gentle contrast. Japanese anemones sway with elegant stems, their pale petals catching the breeze like small lanterns. Chrysanthemums stand proud, their golden and crimson blooms adding warmth to the cool grey stones. Sedum autumn joy drapes softly at the edges, grounding the space with texture, while asters scatter small purple stars along the path. Together, they weave color into calmness, life into stillness. A bamboo fence rises at the edge, framing the scene with rustic charm. Pebbles crunch underfoot, while the soft whisper of leaves and the distant hum of bees complete the atmosphere. This garden is not loud, it is intentional. Every detail, from the tire stones to the flowers, feels placed with care, as if composing a quiet poem. The transformation of tires into stones carries more than aesthetic purpose. It speaks of renewal and restraint, of taking what might clutter and turning it into what brings peace. The simplicity honors the spirit of Japanese gardens, where even humble shapes can become symbols of harmony. In tiny patios, These tire stones add grounding presence without overwhelming the space. In larger backyards, they form pathways that guide visitors into moments of reflection. To walk on them is to walk not only on repurposed rubber but on an idea that beauty can emerge when creativity meets respect for nature. As twilight gathers and the garden falls into shadow, the Japanese garden tire stones hold their quiet strength, blending into the earth. They remind us that serenity is not found in grandeur, but in the thoughtful reshaping of the simple and the discarded. In the gentle shade of a pergola, where vines climb and blossoms lean toward the light, there hangs a garland that speaks of whimsy and charm. The cup garland pergola decor transforms simple, forgotten teacups into jewels of the air, dangling, painted, and playful, swaying softly with each breeze. Each teacup tells a story. Painted in pastel pinks, mint greens, creams, and sky blues, some adorned with tiny floral patterns, they gleam against the rustic wood beams of the pergola. Strung together like beads on a string, they create a playful rhythm, their curved shapes catching sunlight that filters gently through vines of wisteria or ivy. Beneath this canopy of cups, the garden sings with life. Chrysanthemums stand tall in gold and crimson, asters sparkle in violet hues, and marigolds burst with fiery orange. Sedum autumn joy spills gently along the edges, while Japanese anemones wave with delicate elegance. The flowers below mirror the garland above, creating harmony between earth and sky, root and bloom, cup and leaf. The sight is enchanting. Children laugh, pointing at the dangling cups as if they belonged in a fairy's kitchen. Adults linger beneath, admiring the creativity and the simple beauty of repurposing what once sat forgotten in cupboards. The garland is not extravagant, yet its presence transforms the pergola into a stage of delight, where shadows and colors dance together. In small patios, this garland adds vertical playfulness, drawing the eye upward and making even tight spaces feel alive with charm. In wide backyards, it becomes a centerpiece for gatherings, a decoration that sparks conversation and joy. Every gust of wind sets the cups into motion, creating a soft clink, like music whispered into the air. There is meaning in this creation too. The garland honors thrift and imagination, proving that even chipped or mismatched cups can hold beauty when given a new life. They need not hold tea, they now hold light, color, and wonder, strung between beams of wood and sky. As evening falls, lanterns hung nearby glow, and the painted cups catch the soft golden shine. The cup garland pergola decor sways quietly, holding both whimsy and grace, turning the pergola into a doorway not just of shade, but of story. heart of a garden where verticality brings surprise, the tire totem flower towers rise like sculptures of rebirth. Tires, once marked by journeys across endless roads, now stand tall and proud, painted in soft hues of lavender, mint green, sky blue, and rustic white. Stacked one upon another, they form towers that turn the ground's forgotten rubber into pedestals of bloom. Each level of the totem holds its own life. From the top, chrysanthemums spill downward in radiant yellows and deep burgundies, their petals catching light like small suns. Midway, asters stretch outward with star-shaped violet blossoms, their cool tones balancing the warmth below. Lower tiers burst with marigolds, glowing orange and gold, while sedum autumn joy softens the stacks with cascading greenery. At the base, Japanese anemones sway lightly, their delicate blooms grounding the towers with grace. The towers do not only add height, they add drama. In small patios, they create vertical gardens where space is scarce, lifting color into the air. In large backyards, they form artistic sculptures, standing like guardians of the flower beds. They catch the eye immediately, bold yet playful, rustic yet elegant. Guests pause, drawn not only to the flowers but to the ingenuity of the design. The tires themselves, painted fresh, reveal no trace of their past. Their round forms, once symbols of constant motion, now stand still in celebration of growth. They whisper a quiet story of transformation, that what carries weight can also carry beauty, and what was once overlooked can rise to new heights. Children marvel at the towers, circling them as though they were magical pillars. Adults admire their creativity, smiling at the way trash has become treasure. Bees hover, butterflies rest, and the garden hums with a new energy, enriched by the tower's presence. At dusk, as the sky softens and shadows stretch, the towers glow softly in the fading light. The flowers close slowly, resting after their day's display, but the structures remain as proud silhouettes, tall and whimsical. The tire totem flower towers remind us that even the heaviest of things can rise again, not with burden, but with blossoms and joy. At the edge of a garden, where blossoms meet pathways and borders whisper welcome, stand the most unexpected of guardians, the cutest Selengan garden guards. Once simple piggy banks, painted in cheerful pastels and playful patterns, they no longer hold coins but stand proudly as protectors of blooms and beauty. Each piggy form is carefully repainted, powder pink, sky blue, mint green, and sunny yellow, its surface adorned with floral motifs and whimsical swirls. They peek out from the greenery like watchful friends, their round faces softened by time and creativity. Arranged thoughtfully among the flowers, they create a sense of charm and humor, as though the garden itself were smiling back at those who visit. Around these playful sculptures, flowers unfold in rich abundance. Chrysanthemums blaze with gold and crimson crowns, asters scatter their violet stars across the beds, marigolds burn bright in orange flames, and sedum autumn joy cascades in textured greens and pinks. Japanese anemones rise nearby, graceful and light, completing the floral chorus that frames the guardians. Together, they make the garden not only colorful but alive with personality. Children delight in their presence, running along paths and greeting the piggy guards as though they were characters from a storybook. Adults pause to admire their charm, surprised at how such a simple object could bring warmth and laughter to a garden. Neighbors passing by cannot help but smile at the sight of pigs standing proudly among flowers, a whimsical touch that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. The Selengans stand not as solemn sentinels but as playful companions. Their presence softens the lines of fences and borders, adds personality to pathways, and tells a story of thrift, creativity, and joy. What was once destined for neglect has been given a new role, a new life, one that inspires and entertains. As the sun sets and the garden quiets, the cutest Selengan garden guards remain at their posts, watching over the blooms as shadows lengthen. They may be small, they may be whimsical, but their message is profound. Beauty and happiness can be born from even the simplest of things, as long as the heart dares to imagine.